Hi everyone. So today we're going to have a discussion or a video lecture about spiritual self. So what is spiritual self? Actually, in other books, you will see moral self instead. Okay, maybe these books are trying to avoid the idea that about spirituality. It's really more on the morality, the ethics. But for our discussion for today, we will um, concentrate more on the spiritual side. Okay, so that's why I decided to use the term spiritual self. So, what is spiritual self? So, basically, it is the belief in supernatural beings, okay, as one of the basic characteristics of religion. Okay, so as of course, since we also study at a Catholic school, so everyone somehow is encouraged to have a relationship with God. Okay, so why are we studying spiritual self? Okay, or what is spiritual self all about? So, spiritual self is all about the intimate or inner subjective part of the self. Okay, so we can say or we can conclude that it is the most intimate version of ourself. Okay, and our spiritual self has the ability to use moral sensibility and conscience. Okay, and we express this through religion, beliefs, and practices. Okay. And then last one, of course, in spiritual self, we also seek the meaning of life. Okay. So people will say, I don't need spiritual self. I'm okay. But later on in their lives, they will realize that they needed somebody or something to guide them in their lives. Alam niyo yon, okay? So, probably you already heard a lot of testimonies of people who were lost because they cannot find the meaning of their life. What is their purpose here on earth? Okay, so that's the role of our spiritual self. Hey, so let's learn some words that we will encounter as we discuss spiritual self. Okay, so first we will have religion. So, what is religion? So, it is an organized set of beliefs, practices, rituals, and symbols that increases an individual's connection to a sacred or transcendent other. Okay, another meaning is it is an organized system of beliefs, ceremonies, and rules to worship or used to worship a divine being. Okay. And last one, it is an interest, belief, or activity deemed to be of utmost importance to a person or group. Okay. So some people, they feel they need to belong to a religion so that their spiritual self will be developed. Okay. So that's a religion. It has an organized set of beliefs, practices, rituals, and symbols. Okay. Okay, so it's very clear. Okay. Next, okay, religiousness. So what is religiousness? It is a degree by which one is affiliated with an organized religion in terms of the person's participation in the prescribed rituals and practices, connection with its beliefs, and involvement with its community of believers. So it means that if you are active, if you are um, doing and doing the rituals and the traditions of the church that you belong to or the religion that you belong to. So that's religiousness. You're being religious. Okay, we already encountered this term when we talked about the philosophical perspectives, right? Okay. So next, spirituality. So what is spirituality? It involves experiencing something beyond oneself in a transcendent manner and living in a way that benefits others and society. Okay. And it is also related to the search for the sacred. Okay, so again, it doesn't necessarily follow that if you're religious, then you're also spiritual person, and vice versa. Okay, because again, if you're religious, if you are active in your church or in the religion that you belong to. Okay, some people, we could say that they are spiritual because not because they still continue. They still continue to search for that being even if they are not active in church. Okay, but of course, just like what we've mentioned during the discussion of philosophical perspectives, it's somehow more preferable if you are both spiritual and religious. Okay? Not all religious per people are also spiritual. You know that? Yung sabihin na nating mababaw yung kanilang relationship sa, sa spiritual being na sinasamba nila or whatsoever. Pwedeng ganon eh. Hanggang doon lang. Kasi, sabihin na nating napipilitan kasi sabi ni mama, 'di ba? Sabi ng tatay ko, umattend kami dito, ganun ganon ganon, 'di ba? Or kaya nagsisimba kasi naghahanap ng jowa, 'di ba? Mababaw lang. Kumbaga, your relationship with the sacred is not really there. Okay? So, next, okay, sacred. What is sacred? Okay? So, a sacred can be a person, an object, a principle, or a concept that transcends the self. Okay, so anything that is, beyond uh, the normal. Okay, and we look up to it as something, supernatural or something holy, divine, powerful, that's sacred. Okay, and it also includes a divine being or a divine object that is set apart and is considered as holy or beyond the ordinary. Okay, so of course the relics, right? So we consider something a relic from an important person, okay, as holy because it made something, it provided something significant in your life, or it made, a miracle. Okay, that is sacred. Okay. Next, spiritual identity. So, it is a persistent sense that addresses ultimate questions about the nature, purpose, and meaning of life. Okay, so of course, your spiritual self is really looking to have a spiritual identity. So, what is your stand? What are your values? What are your beliefs? What are the morals that you adhere into? Okay. So, your spiritual identity also results in behaviors that are consistent with the individual's core values. And it also focuses on the individual's construction of a relationship to the sacred and ultimate meaning. Okay. So, somehow, yes, your spiritual identity is seeking, okay, for a relationship to something or someone that is holy and has all the answers in the world. Lahat ng mga katanungan mo sa buhay nasasagot. 'Di ba? 'Yon. So, Miss, paano mga atheist? Do they have a spiritual self? Pwedeng may spiritual self pa rin sila. Pero, it's more of not really believing into a certain religion. Again, as you can see on the first meaning, okay, as long as na-address yung mga questions mo about the nature, purpose, and meaning of life, so even atheists can still have a spiritual identity. It's just that they don't believe on something that is sacred or holy. Pwede pa din. Okay? Kasi, yun yung nagiging moral compass mo. Your spiritual identity is your moral compass. It's the one that tells you what is right and wrong. Okay? And then eventually, your spiritual identity will tell that to your other selves. For example, yun nga, ano ba yung stand mo Sa sex, di ba? Yan yung mga tinanong ko sa inyo in the previous topics. Okay, ano ba ang stand niyo sa sex? Ano ba ang stand niyo sa ganito, sa ganyan, sa politics? Somehow, it's your spiritual identity that helps you develop those kinds of set of values. Okay? Na tinatranslate ng iba mong self pa. Okay? So, next. Okay? So, above natural or supernatural. So, what does it mean? Okay? So, it means that uh, there's a being that is better and more powerful than any creature in the natural world. Okay, so it also includes anything that cannot be explained by science, okay, or it's already difficult to be explained by science, by laws of nature, which includes things or characteristics of or relating to ghosts, gods, and other types of spirits and non-material beings or to things beyond nature. Okay, so pwede natin sabihin yung mga miracles. Okay. So I watched this documentary from what's his name? Zac Efron. Okay. Isa sa mga episodes niya about water. So they went to saan ba yun? Nakalimutan ko. Somewhere in France na famous for, yung pilgrimages, yung mga nagsisik din ng miracles, yung mga may sakit, ayun. And there's this parang spring, okay? So they say that yung mga umiinom sa spring, gumagaling, okay? But then, the church is also very careful to label what is a miracle and not. Okay, so somehow, hindi lahat namang gumaling sa pag-inom sa water na yon ay considered miracle. So, meron silang may mga criterion tinitingnan. Okay, so yun yun. Tapos, saka na lang i-determine ng church, yung mga church leaders, na, this is really a miracle. Kasi dapat instant yung paggaling. Parang ganon. Walang ka-trace at all. Okay. So, eto. So, let's continue our discussion. So, they say that, the recent studies show that there was a downturn in the religious interest among college students. Okay, sa ages ninyo, between 14 to 20 years old, a lot of young people these days are somehow not being active in church anymore. Okay, may ganun parang hindi na katulad ng mga siguro mga generation namin o generation ng mga magulang yun na talagang active sa church. Okay. So, it is also said that religiousness was measured by frequency of prayer. Okay, yeah, going back to how we're going to define how religious are you, okay? So, frequency of prayer, frequency of discussing religious teaching, frequency of deciding moral actions for religious reasons, and overall importance of religion in everyday life. Yun, kumbaga, you like talking about religion. Okay, so somehow, you and your friends are talking about what's happening in the church or even talking about the Bible. Okay, so what's the relevance of the Bible in your life? Ano yung mga sinasabi ng Bible na na-apply nyo sa buhay ninyo, yung mga ganun, or ano yung mga questions ninyo na masasagot ng Bible? Yung mga ganon. Okay. So to continue, it is also said that adolescent girls are more religious than adolescent boys. Okay. So sinasabi na mas maraming active and religious na mga teenagers kaysa sa boys. Okay. But then, being in a religion, being active or a member of a religious organizations has positive effects. So what are those? Of course, you are motivated to behave in a socially acceptable manner. Diba? Kasi tinuturo rin yan sa simbahan. Kung ano yung tinuturo sa Bible, sinasabi, ipamuhay mo. Diba? Yun. So also here at Benil, ganun din tayo. Okay? So since we are a Catholic school, we are we believe in we believe in God, we believe in Jesus Christ. So somehow, everyone is also expected to live what the Bible is saying. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so more terms. Okay, so moral. Okay, so what is moral? It's a sense or standard that determines what is right and what is wrong. Okay, it distinguishes correct from incorrect and appropriate from inappropriate. Okay, so yung moral standards, it can be universal. Okay, just like what um, Descartes said, or pwedeng ikaw din nagsiset ka ng sarili mong morals. Okay, just like what John Locke has said. Okay, so it really depends. So maraming pwedeng pagbasehan kung saan nanggagaling ang morals mo. Okay, pwedeng galing sa church, di ba? Or just basically sa experience. Okay, and culture. Okay? And then next is morality. Okay, so of course it comes from the Latin word moralitas. So it is a system of beliefs and values that ensures that individuals will keep their obligations to others in the society and behave in ways that do not interfere with the rights and interests of others. Okay, so of course, your moral standards should not offend others. Okay, so somehow, okay, that's your moral standards. Okay, so, sabi nga nila, diba, as long as wala ka sinasagasaang tao, okay, okay lang yan. Okay, yun yung sinasabi ng morality. Okay, yung hindi mo nanggagamit ng ibang tao, basta masaya ka, 'di ba? Isa kang mabuting mamamayan, hindi ka sakit ng ulo ng komunidad. 'Yon. Okay. And of course, very important is value. So worth that we assign to things that we possess or something important, or can also be an abstraction that is manifested in our actions. So your values, your set of values. So what kinds of values do you live in? Do you believe in hard work, okay, perseverance, diligence? So yun yung mga values. And of course, values. Ito, yung pwedeng pinag-usapan natin about material things. Okay, how important your material possessions are in your life. Okay? So, yun yun. Okay. So, since, okay, again, spiritual self, sabi ko sa inyo, we're going to dwell more on the spiritual aspect. So, ito lang, daanan lang natin the top 10 religions by population. Okay. So, of course, number 1 is Christianity. Next is Islam. Third is Hinduism. Fourth, Buddhism. 5, Sikhism. Sikhism is also, para siyang parang breakaway religion ng Buddhism. Okay? Pero, yun nga, nagtatalo sila. Ano ba talaga na una? Ay, hindi. Yung pala yung Hinduism, Buddhism pala yung kung ano yung nauna. Yung pala issue nila. Pero yung Sikhism, siya, breakaway group ng Buddhism. Okay. Next is Judaism. Bahaism. Bahaism is another religion in India. Okay. Next is Confucianism. Jainism, again in India. And last one is Shintoism in Japan, which is 4 million. Okay. Ayun yung top 10. Okay. So, continue. So, again, what are the basic principles? Okay. The 3 basic principles in discovering the meaning in life. Okay. So, why do we seek meaning in our lives? Diba? Yun naman that's the ultimate goal of spiritual self. What is the purpose? Okay, bakit ba ako nabubuhay sa mundong ito? Ano ba ang assignment ko? Diba? So, first, of course, you want to really know the meaning of life. Diba? Yun naman. So, finding meaning of life does not mean that people should strive to become perfect. Okay, yun. Hindi tayo magiging perfect talaga. Diba nga, may joke nga. Sabi, practice makes perfect. However, nobody's perfect, so why practice? Diba? Yung joke na yon. But anyway, even if we cannot strive for perfection, man should still find meaning in life, in events and circumstances. Bakit nangyayari sa akin to? Diba? Bakit? Yung mga ganun di ba? Sometimes we also have those kinds of questions in life. Especially if you just came from somehow a not so good experience in our lives, right? Death in the family, or maybe loss in job, failure in subjects or in exams. So, ayun. Bakit ba? Anong nangyari? Diba? Next is a will to meaning. Okay. So, meaning that one attaches to experience is not obvious. Okay. So, the meaning given to one's life may also vary at any given moment. Okay. So, ito yun eh. Minsan, yung will to meaning, dito tayo pinanghihinaan eh. Diba? Yung, bakit ka ba nabubuhay? Minsan, hindi mo na masagot eh. So, sadly, some people, they give up on searching for the meaning in life, especially if they are faced with trials. Diba? Noon. Okay. And sadly, nga minsan, in real life naman din, in reality, there are some questions in life that really cannot be answered. The only thing that you have to do is to find peace. Yun na lang. Okay. And then, last one is freedom to will. Okay. So, people are given the freedom to make life choices. People can discover meaning through the values that they attach to things connected with their lives. It is important to know that people are still capable of optimism despite all adversities in life. Okay. So, it means that, God has given us a freedom to design our life. Okay. So, you are responsible in what's happening in your life. You can design your own life, okay? It's just that, despite of all the ugliness, okay, of life, okay, sabi nga sa Desiderata, strive to be happy. Okay? We are capable of searching for happiness. Huwag panghihinaan ng loob. Okay? So, ito, again, part of spiritual self, again, is your values. So, what are your values? First, it can be a creative one. Okay? Second, experiential. And lastly, attitudinal. Okay, so these are the three kinds of values that you can have. Okay? So, you can choose your own values, how you express your own values, how you live the values. Okay. Okay. Now, okay, so we will have the last the last slide. Okay. So, how do you find and create meaning of life? Of course, in your own life. Okay. This is from Viktor Frankl's book. Okay. Man's Search for Meaning. So, Viktor Frankl actually is a Holocaust survivor. Yon. So, during the Holocaust, maraming realizations. Kasi, if you were able to watch Schindler's List, panoorin nyo yung Schindler's List, makikita nyo kung paano nag-survive ang mga Jews. Okay, and thankfully, of course, Schindler, she used this influence to also save some Jews. Okay, so how can you find meaning in your life? First is through purposeful work. Okay, so each individual has its own future goal to achieve or a task to perform. Therefore, meaning of life is unique to every individual. Okay, so hindi kayo pare-pareho ng purpose sa buhay. Okay, so hanapin mo yung purpose mo na yon. So ano ba? Siguro ako, um, yun nga, magturo, to educate people. Okay? To give people some clarity. Next is courage in the face of difficulty. So, a meaningful life is a life with suffering. Ayun. So, yun nga, sa Christianity, wala namang pinangako si God na magiging hayahayang buhay natin with Him, right? So, we will still experience suffering, challenges, trials in our life. Okay, but, okay, here, let's read the second sentence. To find meaning in life is to recognize suffering, pain, and death as part of life and to have the courage to face these life difficulties. Okay, so yon. We must accept that it is really part of life. It will make us stronger, tougher. Okay. Last time a student asked me, "Ma'am, what keeps you going?" Sabi ko, what doesn't kill me make me stronger. So, as long as, may buhay, may pag-asa. Okay? So, those challenges that you will experience in life will make you a tougher person. Huwag panghihinaan ng loob. Kumbaga, continue to persevere, to work hard, okay? So, be resilient, okay? Have the grit, okay? Malalagpasan mo yan. At pag nalagpasan mo yan, Diyos ko, parang pagtatawanan mo na lang yung ibang yan. Parang, ha! Diba? Parang been there, done that. Diba? And then, of course, you must have love in your heart. Okay? So, ultimate factor to find the meaning of life, which also, Plato is telling us, for us to know to understand ourselves, we must have love. Okay? So, you can see na somehow lahat ng mga dinidiscuss natin dito sa understanding the self, they have all connection. Diba? Especially now that we somehow, itong spiritual self, it really helps you to establish your beliefs, your values. And those are translated through your different selves. Okay, so, parang ganon, di ba? Tinatanong ko, how can you protect your sexual self, your physical self, di ba? It translates. Okay, kung ano yung set of values mo, di ba? Sa material self, o bakit mo ba pinopost yan? Ano bang purpose mo? Diba? Bakit mo biniyayabang yung bago mong kotse? For what? Bakit mo kailangan i-post sa social media? Yung mga ganun. Diba? Yun. It's your spiritual self that builds those set of values. And then, sinasapamuhay na iba't iba mong self. Okay? So, there, spiritual self is very short. Okay, so if you have any other questions or you need clarity, okay, you can just send me a message on Facebook. Okay, so again, study hard, stay safe, and God bless.